You're tuned in to the Barrage Sports Show.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It is the Barrage Sports Show. We are back. I'm one of your hosts, Mike B, and I'm here with my son,
Mike Burr.
Mike Burr is in the building. We got April T on the ones and twos. This is our last podcast for 2020. 2020 was a year of survival. A lot of things happened. But I just want to say for this podcast, try to think about something that you could be thankful for. We all dealt with things in 2020, and we're not making light of that. God bless everybody and the things we all been through. But let's try to think of a few things that we could be thankful for because we made it. You know, if you're hearing this podcast, you're still here. And we want to just talk about sports right now.
Yep.
Because the NFL is rocking and rolling. Every single team in the NFL is going to be playing this Sunday on week 17. So it's a lot going on. It's a lot of different playoff scenarios. If you win, you're in. If you lose, you're out. It's so exciting. It's been a really good NFL season. What you think about that, Mike Burr?
Yeah, it's been a season like no other. We could truly say that. And, you know, this is going to be one of the craziest weeks in NFL history. It's a lot of teams on that bubble where they got a chance to win. It's a lot of teams where, you know, their destiny is in the fate of other teams winning or losing. So it's going to be an exciting week to see how it all shakes out.
Oh, man, it's going to be crazy. And if you're a fan, you got to love it. It's just a good day to just veg out, watch football, see who wins, who in, see who loses, who's out. And it's just going to be fun. And we're going to go through it all right now. So strap it in, y'all. If you're listening, put on your football helmets and get ready to roll because we got to go through this because it's so exciting. We have to touch on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Let's get into it.
All right, let's talk about the AFC. I'll start with the AFC. And I'm going to start at the top. So remember, fans, and what we call you winners, all our subscribers, and even if you listen to the show, you're a winner. Kind of keep up with us. We're going to throw a lot of stuff out there. And we're going to throw some opinions in there. We're going to say who we think's going to win, who's going to lose. But it's going to be a lot of information. So get ready, football aficionados. This is your podcast today. So starting off in the AFC, we know who clinched. The Buffalo Bills clinched the AFC East title for the first time in many years. Bye-bye, Patriots. They're out of there.
See ya.
Buffalo got it done. The Kansas City Chiefs, they clinched, the AFC West division title and also the first round bye.
Yep.
So they're set. The Pittsburgh Steelers had a little faultiness at the end. They were 11-0, lost 3 in a row, came back, won another. So they clinched the AFC North title. So those are the people at the top. They're good. The AFC East, AFC West, AFC North. They're all good. But guess what's wide open? The AFC South. There is a South, guys. Now, in the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans are in the driver's seat. If they win, not only are they in the playoffs, they win the AFC South. So they have the best case scenario. And they play Houston. Houston is not, they haven't been really that great this year.
Yeah, Houston is 4-11. I mean, you know, they've had a rocky season and now they're having some chemistry issues. And, you know, really ever since the DeAndre Hopkins trade, they haven't looked the same. But it's still Deshaun Watson. So I know they'll come out and they'll have to play hard. But they're, like you said, they're in the driver's seat. If they win, they're in the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs and they're the AFC South champions. Now, if they don't win, but let's say Baltimore loses or Miami loses, then they're still in the playoffs. So they're in the driver's seat. Now, the team that's right on their heels, in kind of in a weird way, is the Indianapolis Colts. But they need a lot of help. So let me kind of give you the scenario. They can win the AFC South division, but they need a little more. If Indiana wins and then the Titans lose, then Indiana will be the AFC South champions.
Yep.
So they have the same scenario. They're the team fighting against the Titans, but they need a little more help. So Titans are in the driver's seat. Colts are near that driver's seat, but they need a little more help.
And then they could also get in. So first of all, they have to win the game
to get in.
Their fate is in the hands of other teams, right? We just mentioned Tennessee. That's if they want to win a division. But they could still make the playoffs without winning the division because they are 10-5 and they'll be 11-5 if they win. But Baltimore will have to lose, or Cleveland, or Miami.
Right.
So one of those other 3 teams will have to take an L this week.
Yeah, so they're in a very precarious situation. Win, and then they need a combination of losses to not only maybe be division champ or just to make the playoffs. But the good thing about it, they're playing Jacksonville, 1-14, the worst team in football right now.
Maybe the Giants. It's between those 2.
Okay. So now, who else is in the NFC South? Because we're just going to the AFC South. We're going to ride the AFC South. Now we're going to talk about Baltimore. Baltimore's in a pretty good spot, not to win a division, but if they win, they're in.
Yep.
But they also could get help if Cleveland loses or Indiana loses, they're in. So Baltimore's in a pretty cool spot.
Yeah, and they're playing Cincinnati. They, ever since Joe Burrow got hurt, they haven't really been any sort of competition. So I expect Baltimore to be able to walk away with that W. So they should be in the playoffs.
They should be in the playoffs. Yeah. And we want Baltimore in the playoffs. Come on.
Yeah. You gotta. Lamar Jackson's the most exciting player in the league.
Yeah.
So.
Even though his 2 times in the playoffs the last 2 years, he's been really bad.
Yeah.
So he has to redeem himself in the playoffs. He hasn't done that well in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Miami, the Dolphins, had a resurgence this year. They're 10-5. They play a tough team, though. They play Buffalo at 11-3.
Ooh.
But the thing about it, Buffalo has already clinched the division. They're not really playing for anything. So I don't know if Josh Allen's going to be on the field. I don't know if Diggs going to be in the field. I don't know if their top defensive guy is going to be in the field. So they might get a little help there.
Maybe.
Because they can't get the first round bye. They've already clinched the division. They have no reason to put their stars in jeopardy. But we'll see. But if Miami wins, they're in.
Yep.
Or if Baltimore loses, Cleveland loses, Indiana lost, any of those three teams lose, they're in.
Yeah, and they it seems like they have a pretty good chance. Like we just mentioned, Buffalo. It would be smart for them to rest some of their guys, but they are a pretty aggressive franchise, a pretty aggressive team. They may want to just embarrass the Dolphins and get that W, but it's no point in doing that. And they got 3 teams if one of those teams loses between Baltimore, Cleveland, Indiana. So it looks like they're probably going to get in. That would be exciting. They're definitely one of the best wild card teams. Any given Sunday, I feel like they could beat anybody.
Yeah. So it's exciting. Now we have to talk about the last team in the AFC. Because we're just going through the AFC. We went through the 2 top at the AFC South. Now we're going through the AFC with the Baltimore Ravens and with the Miami Dolphins. The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns control their destiny. Cleveland, they've been in the basement for a long time. They have those loyal fans in that dog pound. But they've had some of the worst luck probably over the last 20 years in the NFL. They found ways to lose, found ways to blow up drafts, found ways to mess up quarterbacks. Now they've stabilized.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield.
Right.
Jarvis Landry. I know Odell got hurt, but they really been thriving all year. And they have great players on defense. You got Chubb. He's one of the best running backs in the league. So this Cleveland team is good. Maybe they can overcome what seems to be like the curse.
Yeah, they're one of the best running teams in the league, period.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of, when they lose now, it's not like, well, Cleveland lost again. It's like, oh, they're angry. Mm-hmm. They see ways they still could have won the game. They're 10-5. But they played their arch rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who 12-3. But it's already been announced that the Steelers are going to rest Ben Roethlisberger. They have nothing else to play for. They've clinched the division. They're 12-3. They're golden right now. They're probably going to rest a few more guys, especially on the defense. Their defense has been banged up. So that can help Cleveland. And Cleveland is in a good position. If they win, they're in.
Yeah, that's the spot you want to be in. They have a chance to pick their destiny. Big Ben is going to rest. They'll probably rest some other guys, especially with all the injuries and everything Pittsburgh's been through this season. So they got a pretty good shot of making it. And I think they will. because the only other way would be if Indiana loses.
Right.
So,
which they're playing Jacksonville, so I think that's a low probability. But you never know. For Jacksonville, this could be their Super Bowl.
right.
You know, which
a lot of times you see that those, the last games of the season, you play a scrub team and you underestimate them. But they're giving their all. It's the last game of the season.
right.
So
yeah. People playing for. You got to remember. Think about this, guys. The NFL is not high school. It's not even college. People are playing for jobs.
Yeah,
feeding their families, buying their wife a mink coat.
Right.
So they don't want to tank it in pro sports. We as fans sometimes say, hey, they should tank it. This guy's coming out, the top quarterback's coming out, the top D guy's coming out. Why should they win another game? But guys on that roster, they got people to feed.
Yeah, and that's that's the management or the coaches are saying, hey, yeah, we should lose to get a high draft pick. But if you're on the roster, you're like, so they could draft people to take my job?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it might be a guy coming up in the contract year. You could be on a bad team coming up in the contract year.
Right.
Or you want other teams to see you. Like, hey, I got to impress other coaches. My agent's going to be out there shopping me. I need to get some tackles or make a touchdown or something. So, Jacksonville, you never know. They might bring the noise.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see. All these matchups in the AFC, I think we covered every team now. All of these games, it's a lot up in the air. And depending on who wins, who loses, what the scenario is, it's going to affect who plays against those top three teams that clinched or the top two that don't have a bye and, all the matchups in the first round.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, I really believe all these teams, because the team that has the bye is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
So the two teams that don't is Buffalo and Pittsburgh. I believe these teams that's trying to get in, Baltimore, the Colts, Miami, Cleveland, I think they really feel they could beat Pittsburgh or beat Buffalo.
Yeah, in the AFC, we both are really liking the Chiefs, and they deserve that first round bye, and they're the most high powered team. But like you just said, I mean, every other team in this playoff hunt is scary. They could go all the way if they can get through the Chiefs. So who knows depending on the matchups, depending on the weather, it's so many factors here that's gonna affect who comes out the AFC. Yep. Injuries, COVID, and all that. So, yeah, I think we covered the AFC. That's the rundown of the AFC. Now let's move on to the NFC.
NFC. Here we go. We got the division winners already. NFC North, Packers. NFC South, Saints. NFC West, Seahawks.
Yep.
So what's wide open? Very similar like the AFC. The NFC East is wide open. Who's going to clinch that division? Now, they're a little bit different. In the NFC South, AFC South, you have some scenarios. You win, you could clinch the division. Even with some other luck between the Titans and Colts, whether they clinch the division or not, they can make the playoffs. NFC East is the exact opposite. The NFC East, the only way those teams are going to get into the playoffs, they have to win their division.
Oh, hold up! You forgot the Bucks are also in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the Bucks are in. Bucks are.
Tom Brady. You knew Tom Brady was going to get
right. The Bucks are in. They didn't clinch a division, but they did clinch a playoff spot.
Yep,
you're exactly right. So let's talk about the NFC East. This, like I say, they have to win the division to be in. They don't have any other scenarios to make the playoffs. Why? Because every team in the NFC East has a losing record. The Washington football team, 6-9.
Wow.
Dallas Cowboys, 6-9.
Wow.
New York Giants, 5-10. Those are the three teams that all have an opportunity in the last week to win the division, get that banner, but they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, and personally, I'm rooting for the Eagles because they had a change of quarterback. Jalen Hurts, he's been phenomenal these last couple weeks. And like I've been saying all season, Philly is actually a pretty good team. They just, chemistry, obviously, they didn't have the right situation at quarterback. But now with Jalen Hurts, they're re-energized. So I know their record doesn't look good, but they could actually send somebody home.
Right. They can be spoiled. Now, they don't have a chance to win the division title at 5-10-1. 4-10-1. I'm sorry. They played their way out of that. But
Yeah.
like you say, new fresh quarterback, fresh new start, and all these teams are fierce rivals. Each team really, hates each other. So Philly wouldn't love anything more than to just spoil it for somebody else.
Yep, and they're playing the Washington football team. So
exactly,
you would definitely want to send them home.
Right. Now, out of the NFC East, Washington is in the driver's seat. Okay? Because if they win, they're in. So they have the best case scenario.
And they're playing a dangerous team in Philly. So, but, they get to decide their own fate. They've kind of come around. They've had some struggles at quarterback. But now they seem to have stabilized a little bit. They have a solid defense, and they got some weapons on the offensive end. So, we'll see if they can come out of there alive. That's a tough division matchup, though.
It is, though, because it's such a rivalry. No game is easy in the division. Now, Dallas and the Giants have a different scenario, but they're playing each other.
Wow.
If Dallas wins and Washington loses, they win the division. They're in. Now, the Dallas is playing the Giants, but if the Giants beat Dallas and the Giants win and Washington loses, then the Giants win the division. So everybody's looking at everybody in this division. So the Cowboys are going to be intensely watching the Redskins. The Giants are going to be intensely watching the Redskins, but those two teams are going to be going mano a mano, head up in the crash of the Titans.
Yeah, normally when you see this fierce of a divisional situation, you would expect all the teams to be really good. But this is a situation where everybody's been so bad and has so many twists and turns. Now they're all fighting to get that final playoff spot. So this is going to be really interesting. And I expect some good football in this division this week just because it's going to be so intense. Everybody's fighting for that one spot.
Yeah, it's so ironic that the division that is by far the worst division from top to bottom in football actually has the most exciting scenario.
Yeah.
It's going to be war out there. So look forward to seeing that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, it will.
Now we got to talk about the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
And the Bears, our team. Our two fates are linked together. If Arizona, if they win, they're in. So they're in a good situation. They, like you say, nothing is better than being able to control your own fate. But unfortunately for them, they have to play against the Rams.
A division rivalry. And also, the Rams are a good football team. You obviously got Aaron Donald, the best player on the defensive side of the ball, and the high-powered offense. And it's a divisional game, so they're going to come and bring their best, and they will love nothing more than to send the Cardinals packing.
Right, because the Rams have to win to get in.
Yep.
So what an awesome game. Two really good teams. The Rams are 9-6. Arizona is 8-7. Whoever wins that game, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's going to be a real battle, and I think it's good for the fans because either way, I would love to see Kyler Murray get a chance in the playoffs, or I would love to see the Rams have another shot. They were just in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, so it's going to be exciting.
That's going to be crazy, man. What a great matchup. Two teams that have been exciting all year, same division, fighting all year, and it comes down, if I beat you, I'm in. You beat me, you're in. Somebody going to go home.
Yeah.
What a great matchup. Now, the reason why I said the Bears are kind of tied in that, if Chicago wins, believe it or not, as crazy as this season has been for the Bears, but if we win, we're in.
Yep.
But we're playing
Bears.
Green Bay. The
Ooh.
best team might be in football, but definitely the best team in the NFC. But also, if Arizona loses, we get in. But we control our own fate. If we beat the Green Bay Packers, we're in. But here's the dilemma there. The Green Bay Packers can clinch the first round bye if they beat us. So One thing we talked about in the last podcast, Mike Burr, we were hoping that Green Bay didn't have anything to play for.
Yeah.
Because they were at the top, #1 record, and we just wanted them to be able to sit their players down, kind of like Kansas City. Nothing to play for. Kansas City Chiefs already say they're benching a lot of starters. We were hoping that would be the scenario with Green Bay, but it's not. If they win, if they beat the Bears, they get the first round bye.
And you know the Packers fans, the Cheeseheads would love to do that. Man. But, you know, I think this is a perfect scenario for the Bears because how up and down this season has been. If they win, beat the Packers, our division rivals in that last game, then they deserve to be in the playoffs. If they lose, they still have a chance if Arizona loses. But I kind of like that it's almost a kind of do or die scenario playing the Packers last week. And like I said, if they can walk away with this win, then they deserve a shot to compete for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's the oldest rivalry in football. So as a Bear fan, you got to be rooting for the Bears and rooting against Arizona. Just, throw away your Arizona iced tea this weekend and just drink water or milk because we have a chance to actually make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So those are exciting. Now, you got the New Orleans Saints. They're still fighting for the first round bye. So they have something to play for. They play Carolina, who's 5-10. They haven't been good at all. But that's still a rivalry game. If the Saints win and Green Bay loses and Seattle wins, then they win the division. I mean, they win the first round bye. So they need some help, but the scenario's out there. So they're going to have to make a choice. Are we going to play to win? Are we going to rest guys? Because we do have a possibility of getting the first round bye, but we have some help. What do you think they'll do?
Yeah, since it's such a what I think they'll do is because when you look at Sean Payton, he's always been one of the most aggressive coaches in the NFL. I think they're going to go for it. They're going to go for it because that's the Saints' MO. That's how they play every week. That's how the city is, and they're going to rally behind this team. So even though, Green Bay has to lose and Seattle has to win and they have to win, it's kind of a crazy scenario where you might say, hey, Drew Brees is coming off an injury. We got some older guys. We got some vets. Just let's let everybody rest, get a nice bye week before we compete for a Super Bowl. That's not Sean Payton's MO. I think the Saints are going to go for it and do what they can to control their fate and then let the other chips fall where they may.
I can see that. Now, Seattle, they have an opportunity to clinch a first round bye. But they need help too. A little different from Green Bay. Green Bay wins, they got it. New Orleans needs some scenarios. Seattle needs some scenarios. If Green Bay loses and New Orleans loses, then they get the first round bye.
Yep.
So I think they're going to be out there playing, trying to win and let the chips fall where they may, even though they won the division. Because these are teams, like you said, with veterans, teams that could use the rest. They won't lack discipline and, be out partying and, get too rusty during the first round bye. It will probably actually help those teams. So I can't see Seattle going for it as well.
Yeah, and then I'm noticing here now, I like what the NFL did. They scheduled all these games that are kind of dependent on each other. They put them at the same time, too. So they're going to have to compete because it's not like they know the result already. If the game is at 1 and they play at 4, then they'll say, oh, we can't win anyway. We'll just rest everybody. So the fact that they put them all at the same time, they're going to have to go out there and play for a chance.
Wow, that's going to be crazy. This is a big Sunday, one of the most exciting Sundays in NFL football. Lock it in, get your popcorn, get your football helmet, and just get ready to just vibe out and veg out and just watch all sorts of football, all sorts of scores, all sorts of scenarios. But what I love about it, on Monday, we're going to know by Sunday night, because it's a Sunday night game. On Monday, we're going to know who's in, who's out, who's playing who, where they're going to be playing, and what's going down. That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's really going to be an exciting week. But I got a question for you guys.
Sure.
So, with all these teams on the bubble, all these teams that have a chance to get in the playoffs, which one of these teams that haven't clinched a spot yet in each division is your dark horse? Which one are you pulling for the most?
Okay. So are you saying, do you want to say big picture like the AFC and then who I'm pulling for the most and then who I'm pulling for the most in the NFC?
Yeah. Let's start with the AFC.
Okay. To be honest, the AFC, I would say the Ravens. I just wouldn't want to see the playoffs with Lamar Jackson at home.
Yeah.
He's just too exciting. And I like the Ravens. I like what they do on defense. You know, they play an aggressive style of defense. And so for me, it would be the Ravens. I hope the Ravens can get in. I wouldn't want to see the playoffs without the Ravens.
What about you, April?
I think I would like to see the Miami Dolphins. I like the new quarterback, Tua. I think he has great potential. So it'll be exciting just to see something new, something fresh. You know, the Dolphins have had some rough seasons recently, so I think that would just be very exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think I'm really pulling for the Ravens, but since you already said that, I would say the Titans. You know, Derrick Henry, you know, being a running back in the modern NFL and being able to carry a team like he does. And also, Ryan Tannehill's been great, too.
Yes.
And, you know, they're an exciting team to watch. I love the way they still play that physical smash mouth football in this era with all the penalties and all the passing. So, you know, they're a team I'm pulling for.
Okay. Now, let's do the NFC, but we can't pick the Bears.
Oh.
Because everybody knows we from the Chi. Everybody knows we're Bear fans, so that's a slam dunk. Other than the Bears, the other bubble teams, what other bubble team would you like to see in that hasn't already made it in?
I gotta go with the even though obviously I'm rooting for the Bears and this is a conflict of interest, but I gotta go with the Cardinals. If the Bears don't get in, then I would like to see the Cardinals because, you know, Kyler Murray is a monster.
He is.
He's one of the most exciting players. He can make all the throws. He's one of the most elusive quarterbacks I've ever seen. You know, he can really make plays in the open field. Obviously, you got DeAndre Hopkins on his revenge tour, putting up amazing numbers.
Right.
And they got players on defense, too. So I think they're a really good football team. I think on any given Sunday, they could beat anybody, and they're exciting to watch.
What about you, April T?
I think I'm going to have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, the Eagles don't have a shot.
Yeah.
They can't get in.
They don't have a shot.
No, they
at
can
all?
only spoil.
Oh. How about the Cowboys?
Oh, she say, how about those Cowboys?
Just because they're like a staple, although they've had a very rough season, especially when Dak got hurt. But it would just be nice to kind of see the Cowboys back in the playoffs. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
How about those Cowboys? I gotta say the Rams, and I'm just saying the Rams because, and shout out to all our fans on the West Coast. If the Rams make the playoffs, LA might have a chance of the Lakers winning the NBA championship, the Dodgers winning the World Series,
Yep.
and the Rams could have a chance to win the Super Bowl, all in like the same calendars.
Yeah.
Sports season. That would be crazy. We never seen anything like that. So I would love for the Rams to get in just for the opportunity as a dark horse to win a Super Bowl, and LA would just be rocking and rolling.
Yeah, that would be something, and that would be a trifecta of three of the biggest sports in America. So that would be crazy to see.
That'd be crazy, man. And to all our winners out there, what do you think, man? We want to hear your comments. We want to hear what you guys think about these games. We want to hear what you guys think about these matchups. Who's your dark horse? Who you rolling with? But let me ask you, I'm going to flip this though a little bit. Because we usually bring a lot of love. We usually super positive because that's how our podcast is. But who do you not want to make it? You know what I'm saying?
I'll name one.
Okay. April, you start off. Start off, what you going, AFC or NFC?
I'm going AFC.
Okay. So who you not want to make it on the bubble between these teams?
The Cleveland Browns.
Oh, whoa. So you just want the misery to continue in Cleveland, huh?
Yeah, just, they just have a lot of very, dramatic players, and it's just, they're too much for me as like a football halfway fan, not really, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't want to see like the Browns make the playoffs.
Okay. So April wants the the Cleveland Browns misery to continue. What about you, Mike? Who in the AFC on the bubble teams that you could kind of do without?
I gotta go with the Colts. I think of all the other teams, the Titans, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Browns, they're exciting to watch. Where the Colts, they play good football. No disrespect to the talent, but Phillip Rivers and great defense, that's going to create a boring game, So I'd rather those other teams get in.
You know what? I got to roll with April. I got to go with the Browns. I just want them to be hurt for some reason. And I don't hate the Browns. I don't mind if they get in, if they start to play well. I'm not a hater, but if they don't make it, it'll be funny once again that the Browns self-destructed in another season. So for me, it's probably the Browns too.
Yeah, especially if they lost to the Steelers without, a lot of their starters playing. That would be hilarious.
Worse. Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
But shout out to Brown fans. We're not Brown haters, but that's just where we are right now. Now, what about the NFC?
I mean, it has to be one of these NFC East teams.
Okay.
I gotta go with the Giants. I mean, without Saquon Barkley, I mean, is no point in watching the Giants. I'm sorry. I really, that's definitely a team. It'd be like, why are you here?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys, and the reason why I'm saying the Cowboys is because they're gonna hurt more than anybody when they don't make it. It's like national news for all the football fiefdom when the Cowboys don't make it. It's like, once again, America's team is sitting at home with all that star power and their dramatic owner and their loyal fans. So if one team isn't going to make it, then let it be the Cowboys, because at least it's always a big story when the Cowboys don't get in the playoffs. What about you, April, in the NFC?
I would have to say the Washington football team.
Okay, why?
I just think, and this kind of going to my hot take, but to get rid of your quarterback and you guys are like right there in the playoffs, I just think, hey, they have to kind of just bite that bullet. They made the choice, so they shouldn't make it the playoffs.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. That's our NFL preview. We talking about a lot of good stuff. Sunday is going to be fun. Yes. But, hey, April, since you're rolling, we might as well go right into your hot takes.
Yeah, so the first hot take, we have DeWayne Haskins. He was cut from the Washington football team due to a COVID-19 violation. He was seen at a dance club, if you catch my drift. Okay. A little Lou Williams going on.
Okay.
So
For the wings.
He decided to part ways not only with his agent, but the Washington football team were like, hey, we're going to release you.
But you think that's why they did it? He did just play a horrid game.
I think it was a combination, a little bit of everything. They said that the football coach, Ron Rivera, just wasn't really a fit for him. Just felt like he didn't fit the team. So I just think they're looking for like a new direction. But there's already interest in DeWayne Haskins. They don't think he'll be picked up for the remaining of this season. But the Panthers are extremely interested in DeWayne Haskins. He was the 15th pick in the 2019 NFL draft. So he has some potential, but the Washington football team felt that he wasn't a good fit. They've had a rocky season, and then you're going to go to an adult entertainment club in the middle of a pandemic, and then you guys are on the road. So I just think the Washington football team are just like, you got to go.
Okay. Well, the reason why they drafted him, he was only a 1-year starter at Ohio State as a sophomore. He redshirted his first year, was coming off the bench as a freshman. He was a starter as a sophomore. He threw for 50 touchdown passes his sophomore season. So he didn't have a lot of experience, but he kind of caught the wave. He was like, well, I have a big game like that I might as well go pro. And, that's how he got drafted so high.
Yeah, and then it's it's a sad situation, but you do have to think from the team's perspective. If you're being selfish in a situation like that, where you could potentially get other players sick, and on top of that, if you're not playing well, you don't get a lot of leeway off the field.
True.
You see guys, like a Odell, he may have off the field issues, but whenever he's healthy, he's gonna ball out.
Right, that's true.
So they'll give him a little more leeway. But if you're not playing well and you're making, questionable choices off the field, yeah, it's no wonder why, this is the situation now.
True.
So the Cotton Bowl is tonight. They're playing right now. It's the end of the second quarter. Florida versus Oklahoma. And right now, Oklahoma's leading 24-13.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Love the bowl games.
And then what's interesting, Buffalo Bills will allow 6,700 fans for their first playoff game at home.
Oh, wow. Well, Buffalo, their fans are the craziest, loyalist fans in the world. And they love this new team they have. But those fans are crazy. If you ever if you want to see something interesting, watch some YouTube videos of the tailgating before the Buffalo Bill games. They are absolutely bunkers out there. It's some of the funniest videos you can ever see.
You got to be a true fan to sit in that cold of weather in those conditions and root for your team as hard as they do. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting, and that's going to add another element to, if they have any home playoff games.
Yeah, and I tell you, those 6,700 fans are going to sound like 20,000 fans because they rock and roll in Buffalo.
So the Chicago Cubs just did a big, what they call a major reset. They traded their star pitcher, Yu Darvish, to the San Diego Padres earlier this week for 4 young prospects and starter Zach Davies. They have a new president now, and the president, his goal, he says he wants the Chicago Cubs to be like a New York Yankees or Boston Red Sox franchise.
Where they're just perennial winners, huh?
Yes.
Well, okay. Well, good luck to you, Cubs. They're making moves, and they're still trying to kind of reset. But I'm a White Sox fan.
Yeah, we did this. Trust me, guys. We reporting the Cubs. We do this for you. We know that they are a national fan favorite, but in this household, we're Sox fans, Southsiders all day. But we know people love the Cubs, so we're doing this for you for sure.
Shout out to the Cubs. All right, now you know what I want to talk about, guys, and I'm going to take you guys on a little turn right here. HBCUs.
Let's go.
Prime time, Deion Sanders.
Yep.
Hall of Famer. 2-time Super Bowl champion. Played in the World Series, and I think if Atlanta wouldn't have won that World Series, they said he would have been World Series MVP. Now he's coaching at Jackson State.
Let's talk about it.
And what I love about it, he had an awesome recruiting class. He's up the stature of the historically black college. And for those who don't know, I'm going to give you a little education, then we're going to talk about it. There are 2 Division I conferences for HBCUs, which means historically black colleges. The SWAC.
Yep.
And the MEAC. The SWAC, you might be more familiar with some of the schools. Alcorn State, Alabama State, Jackson State, that's where Deion is. Alabama State, Mississippi Valley State, that's where Jerry Rice came from. Southern, Grambling State, Prairie View, Texas Southern, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, UAPB.
And FAMU, too. They were just added.
Oh, FAMU just added?
Yep, to the SWAC, yep.
Wow. So now they just added FAMU. That's the SWAC, Division I. Now, we have a MEAC Division I athlete on our podcast. April T on the ones and twos was a Division I tennis player in the MEAC.
Yep.
Shout out to April T from the podcast. And she went to North Carolina A&T State University. You got South Carolina State, Bethune-Cookman, Norfolk State, and I'm talking about the football teams, by the way, because we're just talking about football right now. Bethune-Cookman, Norfolk State, North Carolina Central, that's A&T's big rival, Morgan State, Howard, Delaware State, and you said FAMU switched over to the SWAC now.
Yeah.
So those are all the teams in the SWAC and the MEAC where kids can attend an HBCU and be a Division I player.
Yep.
Now when you get a person like Deion Sanders coaching, you've raised the profile of those programs because they have a lot of athletes in the Hall of Fame, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice. They have some guys in football that's done some big things. Michael Strahan. That's come out of
Shannon Sharp
that's come out of those conferences, been very successful in the NFL. Jackie Slater with the Rams, that are Hall of Famers and legendary players. But the recruiting for a mass amount of young people, they always are a little bit behind. So what do you guys think about kids, instead of going to Alabama and being the third guy on the bench, or going to Cal and being, playing behind, they draft 4 of the guys at your position. What do you think about being a big fish in a smaller pond instead of being a smaller fish in a bigger pond? And we start seeing these kids, especially from our community, to start going to HBCUs.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think it's a start of a new era. This year we've seen probably more like 4 and 5 star recruits go to these schools in at least, in my lifetime. So it's an exciting change. Obviously, I love the move Jackson State did because not only do you get to be a big fish in a small pond, but in that small pond, you get to learn from, literally one of the greatest athletes of all time. He went pro in the MLB, almost won a World Series, and obviously one of the greatest. A lot of people think he is the greatest football player of all time. So to learn from a legend like Deion Sanders, he has connections to get you into the NFL if that's your dream. You get a high quality education, and it's a different environment than one of those big schools where the campus is like a whole city. Whereas at a HBCU it's going to be more like a community, and some people thrive better in that environment.
True.
And so I think this is a trend that's going to continue. Because it's like a domino effect. It's a reason why, Alabama has the top recruiting class or the top 5 every year. Because once you start getting high-profile players, you start winning, it puts you more on the map, and then more high-profile players want to come and play and wear that same jersey. So I think this is the start of something big.
Yeah, it is. Now, April T., you were a Division I player in the MEAC, in the HBCU, playing tennis. What was the benefit of that? What experience can you share with people why you think that was the right move for you? And you got recruited by Central Florida, like a huge school, but you chose North Carolina A&T. Tell them why what you think the benefit of that was.
Well, just kind of like what Michael said, like in the tennis world, if you more than likely you turn pro 13, 14 years old, 15 years old. So when you go to college to play, you just want to play for the love of the game at that point. So for me, it was more so like, hey, I don't want to just be 10% of the school. I wanted that atmosphere. Both my parents went to a HBCU, Langston University. So I wanted to be in an environment where it's kind of like, Hillman College. Just kind of thinking about that. So I figured like, hey.
You mean Hillman College from different worlds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This, being a kid, so I wanted that experience that my parents had and what I saw on TV. And I was like, hey, I can still have Division I experience playing tennis, having been in a team environment, playing for your school. But then I can also get a great education. And I'm in the South, and I'm also surrounded by a lot of Black people and Black excellence. So I won't feel like just a number or like a quota. And so I think that Deion Sanders, what he's doing, I think this is phenomenal. I think it's awesome. This is really, I think, going to really shift not only football, but I also think it was going to shift also sports like basketball, the big money makers, because I think in this world we live in, everybody wants to be part of a community, and who wouldn't want to play under Deion Sanders? So I think this is going to be like a domino effect. I think there are going to be other former Hall of Famers who want to coach, and they're going to want to go to other HBCUs like A&T. Our football team is really good, so we're actually moving to the Big South in 2021, and we have 3 current NFL players that came from A&T within the last 5 years. We have Tariq Cohen, who plays for the Bears.
The Bears.
Yep.
Brandon Parker, who plays for the Vegas Raiders. And Tony McRae, who plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. So there is talent there. And then you have Deion Sanders. That's definitely going to revive Jackson State's football team, because nobody was talking about them. But then when prime time goes, you see people...
It's national news.
It's national news. Top recruits that were going to committed to Clemson and were like, hey, I'm not going to there anymore. I'm going to Jackson State. So I look forward to see like what other schools are going to kind of reach out to these Hall of Famers or these top former NFL players. Hopefully A&T will be up there too, so we can kind of see a domino effect.
Yeah, the number one cornerback in the nation decommitted from Georgia and decided to come to Jackson State. That really never happens for HBCU. So times are changing. His name is Deion Warren. And can you blame the kid? You're number one. You're the best cornerback in the nation. You're going to go to Georgia. Then primetime pulls up in a Rolls Royce, because primetime like the floss. And you got the greatest cornerback ever sitting in your living room talking to your mom and dad and your cousin and your little baby sister saying, I want you. It ain't rocket science. The young man said, hey, I got to do it. It's prime time. Teach me how you became the best of all time and made $1 gazillion. So shout out to Jackson State, and shout out to all the HBCUs, the SWAC, the MEAC. So all our listeners out there, in an HBCU, it's historically black college and university, doesn't mean exclusively black. It means historically black. Everyone's welcome. There are people from all walks of life, from all over the world, all cultures, all background, all shades, all colors. It's just a wonderful experience. And I ask any parent or anybody who ever think about college to at least consider going to a historically black college and or sending your athlete there, because they can thrive and they can go pro.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Mike Berg, what else you got on the agenda today, man? This is a good podcast. We're rocking and rolling right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot of good topics. The NFL, this is going to be a crazy week. I look forward to the games this Sunday. You talked about HBCUs and they're recruiting, and and it's an exciting thing coming up. We got the NFL playoffs, and the NBA is just getting started, and so that's going to start to pick up soon.
Yeah, the NBA is in its infancy. There's been some exciting games. There have been some close games. There have been some blowout games. Milwaukee just beat somebody by 47, I think. I think the Heat. They beat the Heat by 47. And then the Clippers, they lost by 51 to, who did they lose to? Dallas. So it's been some blowout games, but then we've had a lot of close games.
Some overtimes and everything.
We had some overtime. So a little bit of everything is happening in the NBA already after 4 or 5 games. So I don't think you're going to really know who's the creme de la creme in the NBA to about game 25, 26, because it wasn't a preseason.
Right.
So it's going to take about a quarter of the season for us to start seeing who's hot and who's not. So
Brooklyn Nets are going to be unstoppable.
Brooklyn Zoo.
I said it first.
Yeah.
All right, y'all buying into the hype again.
I said it first. Shout out to KD and Kyrie.
All this stuff y'all say about the Nets, y'all said about the Clippers. So.
Yeah, I guess we're going to see. Mike is still going to hang with them Lakers. I like Utah. I like what Utah's doing this year. I like Utah. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun season. So if you want to check out our podcast, you can find us on any social media. We want you to like, we want you to subscribe, and please share it. If you know somebody likes sports and you like it, throw it out to them. Let them know we're going to put it out every week, and tell them to check us out. We got some old ones in the vault now. This is like we're in the 20-something now in terms of our podcast. So share it, get on board. We love to have you. We love to hear from you. We got people from all over the world getting on the podcast. We're small, but we're growing, and we want to continue to grow because this we love to do. And if you're a subscriber with us, we call you a winner. You are definitely a winner. What you think, Mike Burr, before we sign off?
Yeah, shout out to everybody that's listening. And if you're listening now, you enjoyed it, share it, drop a comment and like it, and whatever platform you enjoy listening to, we're glad you checked in.
April, what you got to say before we sign off?
That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, hey, we made it through 2020, guys. A lot was going down, but hey, we're still here. We have empathy and sympathy for all the ones that had to deal with the devastation of 2020. But for those who are here, let's make 2021 a year to thrive. We had to survive 2020. We want to survive in 2021, and we want to have just a fresh new start, some bright sunny days. So thank you so much for tuning in with the Barrage Sports Show. We can't wait to hear from you. We can't wait to be back. Enjoy the football, enjoy the NBA, enjoy sports. And we're out of here. And as we always say, Mike Bird, drop the beat.